Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. I am Christy Ruffino, the host of the show, and I have the pleasure of interviewing today's guest, Ann Gordon. Welcome, Ann. I'm glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Christy. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So we're going to talk about some great tips, ninja tips that Ann's going to share, and she's going to share her story on how she got so interested in this field. It's very, very unique. So you want to stay tuned. But before we do that, I want to read you a little bit about Ann, so you have a little backstory on her. So Ann Gordon has been running her successful whale and dolphin wisdom retreats internationally since 2007. She shares the wisdom of the dolphins and whales through transformational retreats to spend time with and deepen your spiritual connection with the natural world. Ann is a retreat success coach who loves to share her comprehensive knowledge and experience of leading successful and lucrative retreats over the last 14 years with coaches, healers, and transformational leaders. She is dedicated to empowering you to easily create, fill, and lead the transformational live and virtual retreats that you have been dreaming of. So I will say I have done quite a few events throughout my multiple years as a business entrepreneur, but never a retreat. So I am really excited for you to share some of the wisdom that you are going to later in the episode. But before we do that, I want to know how you got in this field, because swimming with dolphins and whales sounds just like a fantasy, not a business. And you have kind of combined the two. So how did that happen?
Yeah, it's been a pretty fun journey. And yes, I've turned my bucket list dream of hanging out as much as possible in and on the ocean with dolphins and whales into my business and getting paid well for it. So, and I'm the poster child for living your dream. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So how it started was, well, way back, I grew up boating in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. and lived right on the water. I grew up watching the Orca whales. And I was trained as a biologist and animal behaviorist. I've worked as a zookeeper, trained animals for movies and television for many years. And I got hired to work on a film in Panama. And that film hired a local tribe of Indigenous people as the actors. And as fate would have it, and this is a whole nother story, but I ended up marrying one of the men from the tribe and moving to Panama. So I'm in this country where there are two oceans 50 miles apart. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. What species of dolphins and whales do we have? And where are they? And how do I get out to see them? And what I discovered was that nobody in the entire country was doing whale watching. And it's one of the best places in the world to see humpback whales because we get them from both the northern and southern hemispheres. And they come there to breed and give birth. So I literally pioneered the whale watching industry in that country, which was, again, a whole nother story. But as I was starting these whale watching tours, I loved it. And my clients were into the biology and the behavior and so on. But for me, I love getting into the spiritual aspect and using the behavior I see as metaphors to improve our human lives. And what I realized is I really wanted to, forgive the pun, dive deeper into connection with the dolphins and whales and spend more time with clients who were like-minded, who were more spiritually open to the concepts that I was interested in. So that's when I kind of patterned my retreats after other people that I knew were doing this, swimming with dolphin retreats and whale watching around the world. And what was interesting is I kind of did it for a selfish reason, in that I wanted to spend more time out on the water and not have to hire a boat for myself every time. But I realized on my very first retreat that, by the way, was sold out, the very first one I ever did, in kind of a joint venture way. I sought out someone who had an audience and said, hey, I can facilitate this. You bring your audience. And she did. And what I realized was, in observing the clients, was that the whole envelope of a retreat just was just a beautiful, sacred, safe space to release any emotions, any blocks, any limiting beliefs in a beautiful, gentle way. You know, we didn't have to do any heavy dialoguing or processing or anything. It just happened all by itself. And then by being surrounded by nature, that these people just deeply connected to nature, to all that is, to themselves, and to their passions, and recovered this childlike joy and sense of wonder, all within 5 days of a retreat. And so from then on, I was sold. It's like, how do I get to do more of this and watch these beautiful transformations in each and every client that comes?
Wow. I want to sign up. When is the next one?
Actually, in just under 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So what a great story. Like you go there, you fall in love with somebody that's native to the area. You didn't plan on it. You were going there for work, and all of a sudden your life is upside down in that way, in a good way. But it led you to discover this and open up a whole new world for not only you and your clients, but the whole, it sounds like you were a pioneer with the whale industry at that point.
Correct.
So, and wow. And that was, in what year was that? How long ago was that?
I moved to Panama in 2004.
Okay. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're not in Panama now?
No, I moved back to the US September 2019. And unfortunately, my husband and I are no longer together. However, we are dear friends, and, you know, life happens. We are dear friends, him and his family, and I talk to them regularly. So it's all good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's great. So now you are this expert. I love how you had it identified in your bio that you are let's see, what did we have? A retreat success coach.
Right.
But more unique with the whole aqua or the marine, right? The whole whale thing. And I love the sacredness of it, the expansiveness of it, and just getting back to recognizing the joy. So I was in Alaska last July, and I, for the first time in my life, now I've seen whales at zoos. I've seen, you know, different kind of, I guess, mammals in that type of environment. But being on a boat and seeing this huge humpback whale just surface not right next to us, but fairly close, and the size of it compared to the size of us, it's amazing.
Yeah, they're the size of a school bus, right? Yeah. And imagine being in the water with one, you know, it's like making eye contact with you. It's incredible.
Oh, I would imagine. Well, what a great story, Anne. And what I would love to do, if you don't mind, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, because I know you have some tips that you want to share with our audience about how they can have their own amazing retreats. So, All right, perfect. Why spend hours networking in person and now online, only to interact without ever connecting? Who wants to be even busier when our goal is simply to get more business? Since 2003, the Dynamic Professional Women's Network, aka DPWN, has established itself as the premier network for women to grow their businesses through relationship networking. With local and global members across the nation, DPWN sisters help each other prosper through collaboration, mentorship, accountability, support, wisdom, and most importantly, referral generation. To join the DPWN team, visit dpwnglobal.com. Well, welcome back to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. We are here with Ann Gordon. She is a retreat success coach, and we had a great conversation over the break. And although I'm captivated by the thought of having a whale and dolphin retreat, she does so many more retreats than just that. And she caters the retreat to your individual business and your individual clients. So how long have you been doing this, Ann? I know we talked about your story and when you kind of got interested in the whale piece of it, and then diving into retreats, but leading your own retreats, that's a complete different story. When did that start?
Yeah, that was right in the very beginning. It was around 2007 when I led my first retreat. And as I mentioned earlier, my first retreat was facilitating the retreat for another coach. And she brought the audience, she brought all the participants. And I realized in Panama, where I was in the Pearl Islands, where I did my retreats, the whale season is 3.5 months long. So I could have easily done a retreat every other week. But I realized my audience wasn't big enough to fill up that many 6-7 retreats each year in that area. So that's when I started reaching out to others and that held retreats already, but were looking for new and exciting locations to go to. And what I realized in doing that was some of them were great, like my first facilitator, my first retreat leader. However, some of them not so great. And even though I said, hey, I'm here for you, reach out if you need anything, they just didn't reach out until they said, you know what, I couldn't find anybody, I'm canceling. I'm like, well, and then I'm left holding the bag. So that's when I started thinking about how can I support these retreat leaders in a way that guarantees success in their retreats. So I started building a course, a program that's now an 8-week, what I call the Dream Retreat Success Program. And as I started doing the outline, one, I realized how much I knew about retreats. And this was, several years into having led retreats, then in Panama, as well as now around the world. I lead mine in Mexico, in Panama, in French Polynesia, in the Bahamas, in the Pacific Northwest, all over the world. And I realized that one, how much I had learned about how to create a successful and profitable retreat, but also that what I learned about how to create these retreats didn't necessarily have anything to do with the whales and dolphins. That's my particular flavor of retreat. But that what I was planning on teaching could be applied to any type of retreat, whether it's a corporate team building retreat, whether it's a church retreat, whether it's an Italian cooking retreat, whether it's a writing retreat, whether grief recovery, relationships, whatever your topic is as a coach, then this format would work for you. So that's became very exciting for me because obviously those who want to do whale and dolphin wisdom retreats, great, love it, but it doesn't apply to everybody. So that really expanded the audience. And one of the first things, because I know it can be really overwhelming for most people who think, I'd love to lead a retreat, but I don't know where to start. It's, it's overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh. But the very first thing you want to do is figure out what is the transformation you want to facilitate in your retreat. What is the result that you would like your participants to walk away with? What is the promise? Get your theme, your goal of your retreat, figure that out. And then it makes it really easy because everything else has to align perfectly with that goal, with that transformation. So for example, if you are leading a Italian cooking retreat and you're trying to pick your location, you're not going to go to Bali or Costa Rica. Even though those are amazing retreat locations, you're not going to go there because you're probably not even going to get ingredients, right, in those countries. So obviously, Italy is a great place to go. That's a really obvious one. But if you're doing, say, a vegan or a raw food retreat, or even a meditation retreat, you don't want to go someplace that's at like a big all-inclusive resort where there's a cookie factory right next door with the smells wafting in and everybody trying to get everybody to eat healthy foods, right? Or there's all this noise, or there's a big nightclub nearby and you're trying to get everybody into this beautiful meditative state with the boom, boom, boom of the disco next door, right? You have to really, everything aligns. It's like, okay, I really want to go to Costa Rica, but I want to teach Italian cooking. Yeah, that's another retreat. That's someplace else. So then it makes it much easier to choose your location, your venue, your tours, your activities. Everything has to be aligned.
That makes so much sense. And to have somebody that knows the different areas that can guide you will help you eliminate those little mini problems, because if you have too many of them, you can kind of go through one or two, but if you have too many things that don't align, what's going to happen is, even though your guests are still going to, have fun, make the best out of it, they're not going to get the transformation that you're promising, because there are too many things that are taking them off course.
Absolutely. And here's another hint. It doesn't have to be aligned in the eyes of your clients up front when they're reading the brochure and the website and the itinerary. They don't have to get it. So for example, if you are teaching and leading an abundance mastery, opening to abundance retreat, and you include whale watching, your guests are not likely to see the connection between abundance and whales. But you, as the retreat leader, know already that whales represent abundance, being the largest creatures on Earth. They eat the smallest, and you never see a skinny whale.
I love that.
Right? And it's scientifically proven that recently research has shown that when there are more whales in the ocean, there's actually more fish in the ocean, not less.
Interesting.
So even though the whales are eating those fish, what they're putting back into the system and being part of the ecosystem, it actually increases the number of fish. So those are all subtle teachings that you could do very informally on the boat, on the tour. So they thought they're just going to have a fun day whale watching, but instead it's going to blow their minds into this whole new way of being abundant in the world.
Wow. Okay. So I have hosted many events. I've done luncheons. I've done evening events. I've done all day multi-speaker conferences. I did a 3-day symposium fair once, but I've never hosted a retreat. So tell me, what is the difference, and why would I even consider this?
Well, here's the thing. I consider a retreat the ultimate transformational experience because it's this all-inclusive kind of sacred, safe envelope. And it is not, you see the word retreat kind of thrown around way too loosely in the coaching industry. A retreat is not a 3-day event where you're a fire hose of content sitting in a hotel conference room the entire time. That's not a retreat. A retreat is this beautiful balance of a very small amount of content, maybe 20, 30%. But then you're building in these aligned experiences activities, processes, and 20-30% of your time should be free time. Because a retreat, you want people to relax, to refresh, to have their own experiences. And I'll tell you a secret, the magic happens in the free time. When they are not, you may teach them something in the content piece or informally during the experience. However, it is when they have time on their own to journal, to walk, to meditate, to have a conversation with the fellow participants. That's when the aha moments pop in. That's when they can process what you've presented. That's when they can go, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. That lets them integrate what you've presented. That's the difference between a retreat and all these other like workshops and 3-day events and, like you say, luncheons and meetings. It's not just, content.
Yes, it's kind of like I'm equating it, like what popped into my head. It's kind of like my shower experience. So I am more creative, more in alignment. So many things come to me when I'm in my shower because there's a lot of reasons why. I know that's scientific as well. But I could sit down and try, but that doesn't work. But when I'm in this environment of openness and just comfort, it just really, that's kind of what I equated it with, is being in that state of mind when I'm in my shower.
I get the same thing. I get amazing aha moments in the shower because you don't have to do anything. Everything is kind of on remote control. How to wash your hair and soap your body. You don't have to think about it. So your mind has time to wander. And so on your retreat, you want to give them and program in time for their mind to just be and allow it to process.
Yes. Okay. So I've got my dog barking here. So I've decided I want to have a retreat. What are some of the tips that I need to know, or what are some of the pitfalls that I need to look out for?
Yeah, there are. One is you want to pick a location that is not necessarily your favorite location in the world, because you don't want to go to your bucket list location. And I learned that the hard way because I was living in Panama. I knew Panama was amazing. The Pearl Islands were incredible. We are often the only boat on the water with the whales. But here's the thing. Panama is not on anybody's bucket list, unless you're an engineer and you want to see a canal. But even though Panama has a wider biodiversity, is cheaper, safer, and easier than Costa Rica, nobody knows that. So you want to go to the bucket list location of your clients, not you. And ideally that aligns, but sometimes it doesn't. So to guarantee that your clients are going to say, yes, I want to go there. I've always wanted to go there. And I get to swim with dolphins too. Amazing, right? Or you get to have this amazing transformation. Perfect. So that's something to be aware of, is don't choose the location based on your ease or based on your desires. Base it on what your clients want and what is easy for them.
Okay. So what would be one of the challenges? So like, what do I want to look for? What could go wrong?
Well, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. Of course, when you're traveling, right?
Oh, yeah.
Flights can go wrong. Weather can go wrong. I mean, we had and the key is attitude, your attitude as a retreat leader. So for example, I lead a retreat every year to Mexico, to a remote location in Baja, where we stay at this eco camp off the grid, way out on San Ignacio Lagoon, and we hang out with the gray whales. And it's an amazing time. They literally come up to the boat and you can touch and kiss them, and it's amazing. However, it's so remote that there's no cell signal, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no nothing. And it's the desert. Well, last time we went, which was literally in March before the whole world locked down, was it rained and it rained and it rained, which in the desert doesn't happen very often. I mean, it rained a lot. It didn't stop us from going out with the whales and having an amazing time. But on the morning we were supposed to leave, the camp director came to me and said, "Ann, there's a problem." I'm like, "Okay, what's the problem?" And she said, "The road's washed out. We can't get out." And my first thought was, yay, more whale time, because we could still get out on the boat and go see the whales. But I had a couple people on my trip that kind of freaked out because they're like, "I have a flight out tomorrow and I have to go to work." We didn't realize we were going into lockdown as soon as we got home. But it was because I looked at it as a sense of adventure and a good thing. They didn't freak out so much. They didn't go, they kind of went, "Oh, well, we could see more whales. We could, and so it's all about your attitude." So what we did was we already had a 2-hour whale excursion plan. So we went out, we did that. We came back and they said, "Well, we figured out a way we could get you out." So because we didn't freak out, because we kind of like embraced this sense of adventure of it, we were able to go have fun with the whales, come back, and they solved the problem for us. Now, I was a little disappointed. I wanted to stay, but they were happy. And they later told me that that was a great experience for them because they were starting to get really freaked out and worried in their mind, but they saw my reaction and they just went with the flow with it. And the funny part is the way we got out was they drove a truck up to the edge of where the water had washed out the road. They had a van waiting on the other side, and they had this rope and a dinghy, and these strong guys, literally, we'd get in this little dinghy, 2, 3 at a time, and they would carry us, hand walk the dinghy along this rope through the rushing water. So,
oh my gosh.
but we have great pictures and nobody was scared. Nobody was freaked out. Everybody had these great smiles because I set the tone that this was going to be fun. Now look at this fun adventure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to just keep asking you more and more questions, but I know our time is up. You do have a free gift for our audience, and I'm looking at what it is, and it's great because it is a planning guide for anybody who wants to be able to probably create their own retreat.
Right.
Tell us what that is, because we're going to have the link for anybody who wants it to get it in the show notes below, as well as all of your contact information, your social media links, your websites, and all that fun stuff will be in the show notes below. But share about what this free gift is so our audience will really realize that they've got to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a 17-page PDF downloadable Create Your Dream Retreat Planning Guide. And I literally list you step by step, absolutely everything you need to think of from, again, coming up with your vision and your goal for the retreat, then choosing your aligned location, and then choosing your venue. Do you want a hotel, a retreat center, renting a whole house through Airbnb, something like that? And then picking tours, activities. And then I also talk about do you want a team and legal contracts, hotel contracts, all of that stuff that's not so exciting, but is necessary to be aware of. And then what kind of equipment and supplies you're going to need. And also then we go into the budget, how to create your budget. And this is something that a lot of people they don't know what to do, is how to price your retreat. So I talk about how to price once you've created your budget. And I'll give you a hint. You want to put yourself in as a line item so you guarantee you get paid, right? And then you find your break-even point from there. And then of course then you're ready to start marketing it and announcing it to the world.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Ann, for joining me today. I'm really excited to be able to get this episode aired for our audience. And hopefully you can come back again because I would love to have you.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. And yes, I got tons of stories and experiences to share. So I would be honored to come back, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. So thank you all for listening today. I hope you got as much information from Ann as I did, and I hope it expanded your thinking about maybe possibly hosting your own retreat. And what we would love to have you do is share anything you learned from this interview with your friends, because we always learn better when we teach to other people, and share our podcast, because we would love to be able to expand our audience and get more people to meet some of the great guests that we have on our show. But until then, have an amazing rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.